Well, hello folks. I've got some progress to show you and I have a pretty cool story to tell you as well. So let's just jump in where we left off. So you'll see here that I've replaced all of these capacitors. These are all the major capacitors that run the underside. And you'll see that I've used a pigtail method here. So I basically twisted the end of these capacitors around a jeweler screwdriver. Same thing on all these. And then I've simply inserted the wire into the capacitor and then soldered it. Same thing on both ends. And you make sure it's secure and you leave the insulation in place. And the reason why I do this is if this ever has to be replaced again, it's real simple. You just melt the solder, pulls right off. And I've done that here. I've done that here on every cap that you would want to change. I've also done the same thing on these caps as well. So I've replaced these. But I have to tell you a little bit of a story. So after I replaced the caps, I decided that I was going to bring this thing up on my Variac, right there, and bring it up slowly and see if I get any tube lights, okay? I brought it up and I got absolutely nothing, dead as a doornail. So I started checking voltages around here, everything, nothing, it was dead. So this caused me to have to pull out the transformer. And I've got some pictures to show you in a few seconds. But I had to pull the transformer out, ohm out all the leads that come out of it, and see if I had continuity. Sure enough, I had one that was open, and that feeds this 6A4 tube, which is essentially the brains. So what this tube does is it feeds into the electrolytic caps, and this is really the tube that does just about everything in here. So I had an open, and you'll see this white wire here is the one that was actually broken. So I had to take apart the transformer, dig inside, very, very small wires obviously, reconnect them, and hope that it worked. And I've got some pictures of what that looked like, was able to bring it up on the Variac, and I actually had voltage. So I've put this thing back together, I have put it back into the chassis, and it's actually working. But an interesting story about how that was a scary moment. I thought for a second I'd have to toss this thing out in the garbage. But here's a few pictures so you could see what I was doing. Okay, just from a progress perspective, I still haven't gotten these caps in that I need. These are the 1200 volt 0.1 microfarads, and these basically just smooth out the signal that goes to the CRT. So when these come in, I'll replace those. But what I'm going to show you how to do now is to test some tubes. This is pretty interesting stuff if you've never done it before. So let's do that. Okay, so what we have here is a night tube tester. It's a 600B, and it's something that I bought on eBay a while back. I really stole it, and you can see this thing is in pristine condition. Matter of fact, when I bought it, the man that I bought it from sent me a note and told me a story about he built this himself back in the 60s and has kept it in good condition and asked me to do the same, and I promised him that I would. So how do these things work? Well, basically you've got your tube sockets, obviously. You have to set your filament voltage, your load, and what circuit. And then you have to select these switches to indicate what type of pinouts the tubes have. So for example, we're going to test this, this is an AU7, okay? Goes right into the slot here, like so. That's an AU7. I'm going to look on the chart, and you'll see the AU7, we have to set the circuit to number 4. We have to set the filament voltage to 6.3. There we go. We have to set the load to 62. And it says there's two choices here. We have to set 1 up and 9 down, or 6 up and 9 down. So the first thing we're going to do is put 1 up and 9 down, okay? And we're going to try that. So we're going to power it up. Let's see, we have a light. And you'll see that the heaters are starting to warm up, which is good. That means our filament voltage is correct. And we're going to give it just a minute to heat up. You know, tubes are not instantaneous. And once that's done, what you do is you hit this switch right here, and this will actually test the tube. So let's see what happens with this one. Now you'll notice that it's not exactly centered. There is a line adjust feed here, and we're going to center that thing so it's perfect. There we go. All right, let's test. So you'll see that the needle is about 84, and you go with the top line, which is good. Okay, so that's good. Now this particular tube has the ability to test the gas as well. So in order to do that, you need 2 hands, but what you do is you hold down this short button, and then you push number 2 down, and that's indicated right here by this number 2. So we know that we have a good tube. So let's test out another one. I know I have a bad tube here. So we're going to take this out, turn the power off obviously. And I've got this 6x4 tube, which I know is bad, and I've got a new one in order. That goes into the 7-pin slot. And we have a different chart here for this. So there's the 6x4. Okay? So our circuit is 4. Our filament voltage is 6.3. Our load is 28. And we need 1 up and 3 down. So we're going to put 1 up and 3 down. Okay? We're going to power it up. I'm going to check our 0. Make sure we're zeroed out. And we're going to see if we have any filament. Nothing. No filament. But we're going to wait another minute. Still nothing. Well, let's test it and see what happens. Dead as a doornail. Okay? So I know that this tube is bad. So what does this tube do? Well, I'll tell you what it does. Let's look at the schematic. So this is the tube that's bad, the 6X4, I'm sorry. And you'll see that basically, here's the heaters. This is where your filament is, right? We know we have filament voltage because all the other tubes do light up. But this is feeding directly into your electrolytic capacitor. So without this, there's really not much going to happen as far as the functions on this board. I do have filament lighting on all the other tubes, but with this one being dead, I'm basically not able to do anything. So I wanted to show you that. So I want to also explain one other thing about the schematic that I learned from my good friend John, who has been really helpful for me in trying to learn this stuff. So when I reconnected this transformer, and I actually had it gator wired before I reinstalled it in the chassis, I neglected to put this this wire here, this red one, which goes from ground to pin 3. Okay, and you'll see that pin 3 of this tube right here is ground. Okay, and basically what that means is that this tube was dead, and I also had no ground going here. So, but John pointed out something to me that was really important. If you look at this green winding, you'll see that right here there's an X. See that? And if you look at all the other tubes that are here, see the X? There's an X here. There's an X here. No X on that one. Basically what that means is that this X is feeding all the other tubes, the filament windings. Really, really important stuff. And I really thank John for explaining that to me. Okay, for the last part of this, I'm going to show you how the Variac works. So basically, here's your Variac. I've got the scope plugged in here. And you'll see I take a visual. Everything is nice and clean. We're going to power this up. We're currently at 0, so there's nothing coming out. And the scope is turned on. Okay? So we're going to bring this up slowly. We'll bring it up to 65. Just make sure everything looks good, no smoke. Do we see any tubes lighting up yet? Let's see. Oh, I see a little bit there. We'll bring it up slowly. Bring it up to 100. You'll see we've got tubes lighting up. There's the CRT. But you'll notice that that tube in the back there is not lighting up. That's the one that we tested that was bad. Let's bring it up to 110. And look what we have there, a dot. But none of these vertical controls work or horizontal controls because of that tube. So we're making progress. Last thing I want to show you is what do you do if you don't have a tube tester, right? So we know that this 6x4 tube is bad. So theoretically, I should be able to ohm out between the heater filaments 3 and 4. So what I've done here is I've connected a lead to 3 and 4, and I've connected it to my meter. I'm going to turn my meter on to ohms, and look what we have, nothing. Continuity, nothing. That's how I know the tube is bad. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. I have to make a huge shout out to John. He was really, really instrumental in talking me through this and getting me to focus on the right stuff. Once I get my new tube in and get these caps in, I should be able to fire this thing up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. But enjoy, and hope you enjoy the pictures of the transformer, because that was a load of fun. Anyway, this is Ron. Thanks.